Now, I want to highlight what I think is one of the most important verses in the Bible when it talks about loneliness, and that's Psalm 34:18. It says that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. He is near to the brokenhearted. Notice that David does not say that God makes everything better, like magic trick. Oh, it's all good now. Doesn't say that. It does say that God is near to those who are brokenhearted. I mean, have you ever had a really hard time in your life when you're going through something, you feel like no one understands, and everyone wants to tell you what you need to do or what you should have done to make it better? And they all want to give you advice, and it doesn't help, does it? No one wants that because you're suffering and you're hurting, and those words don't mean anything to you in that moment. And sometimes what we need when we're brokenhearted and we're lonely and we're at our lowest point, sometimes what we need is for someone to simply be near us, to be with us. Sometimes we don't need the answers, even if it's true. What we need is for someone to be with us and to comfort us. You know, for everyone who is lonely or who is brokenhearted, if you're crushed in spirit, as it says, God is near to you. He's not this God who is far off and doesn't care about your problems. He's not disinterested. It's not like you have to beg him to care about what you're going through. He already cares. He's near to us. He's not far off. And just as his word says that he will never leave you nor forsake you. And see, just as David was pouring his heart out into song, all of his pain and his emotions and his desperation, he was pouring that out into this Psalm 34, and he knew that God was with him. All of us can also pour out our loneliness to God and pour out our hurt feelings to him. And even if the whole world has abandoned us, God will never abandon his people because he is near to the brokenhearted. You know, when I was a kid, something happened to me at a neighbor friend's house that scarred me for life. And I shut it out. I didn't want to deal with it. And for a large part of my life, I shut it out to the point where I didn't even remember it happening. And I responded to it with addiction. I responded to it with depression. And I sunk into a really low place. And I can remember vividly in middle school just feeling like I was the loneliest person in the world. But I've chosen to respond to that hurt and that pain that I've experienced in my life by worshiping God and sharing about it openly with other people. My goal is to try and cut a path towards hope like David did. To share about my experiences openly so that other people can see the goodness of God and praise him. For those of you who don't know this about me, I am the founder and the lead vocalist of a Christian metal band called Crucify the Flesh. And we released our second full-length record 2 years ago this month. And I made a goal with this record to sing about my hurt and my pain and all my doubts and my traumas and my addictions and put all of that into a record, into a metal record that would lead people to praise Jesus. And There's a song on that record that's called Song of Darkness that is probably the most open and transparent song that I've ever written. And I'm not gonna play that song for y'all this morning. I don't wanna scare anyone with the screaming vocals. As much as I would love for the whole church to just start headbanging and open up a pit here at the altar, that's not gonna happen this morning. But I do wanna share the lyrics that I wrote with you guys. This is the most transparent and honest thing that I've ever written in a song, and so I wanted to share it with y'all this morning. It's called Song of Darkness. Darkness whispers telling me of resurrected memories, but your haunting silence beckons me to scream of all my pain. Addictions leave empty the heart that is searching. Depression is reaching for me. And here in the darkness, my hands are shaking. The trauma of innocence lost is tainting. Abuse left me questioning who I really am and who I'm meant to be. In suffering, in pain, is your grace sustaining? To victims of sin, is your goodness failing? Where is your voice? My God, I need you now. My God, I need you now. When I look upon the wounds in my heart, the memories come flooding like a plague. But when I look upon the wounds that are in your hands, they serve as hope and reminders of who I am. We try to forget the pain and regret, but always remember that you are not alone. Addictions leave empty the heart that is searching. Depression is reaching. This cycle is killing me. I'm searching and hoping and struggling with coping, but I can't keep numbing the pain. But there in the darkness, your hands were shaking. The sorrow of paradise lost was making you weep for your son with a torn identity and what this meant for me. In suffering and pain, it is your grace that is sustaining. To victims like me, you are never failing. So still I will sing, my God, I need you now. Yet even in the darkness, you weep with the weeping and you hurt with the hurting. So still I will sing, my God, I need you now. And that song, was written after I read Psalm 34:18. That he is near to the brokenhearted. And I meditated on that verse for months. And the reality that he's near to us, that he doesn't abandon us to our suffering, he enters into it. And see, we see the ultimate fulfillment of Psalm 34:18, that he is near to the brokenhearted in Jesus. That God came and took on flesh and chose to dwell with us, to be physically present with us, to live as we lived, to be tempted as we are tempted, to suffer as we suffer. We just got done celebrating that this Christmas season yesterday, right? That the Word became flesh. That he came to dwell among us. And see, I want to be clear about what David is highlighting in this psalm, that he's near to the brokenhearted. See, what Jesus has to say to the brokenhearted is important. What Jesus has done for the brokenhearted is significant. But what David is highlighting is God's proximity to us. And it doesn't talk about what God has to say to us in this moment, but it talks about his proximity, that God is near to us. He is near. In my low moment, God was with me. And so I turn and worship him through my pain, and you can too.